1 lakh in 6 months. Look, whenever we face a six-figure financial goal, anxiety just naturally creeps in, right? You instantly start running through all your recurring bills, the rent, the crazy rising cost of living. But let me assure you right out of the gate here, this is absolutely achievable. You really don't need a magic trick. With a proper plan and just a commitment to stick to it, literally anyone can turn this intimidating number into a reality.
Let's strip away that whole intimidation factor right now. Just look at this number, 16,500 rupees. That is the exact amount you need to stash away every single month to hit that 1 lakh target in half a year. That's the whole shebang. Now, you might be crunching the numbers in your head right now and thinking, wait a second, the math doesn't quite add up to exactly 1 lakh. And you're right. That's because this calculation assumes you're smartly putting that money to work at a 10% average annual return. We'll get into how that specific magic works in just a bit, but seeing the goal broken down into a single, monthly bite, it just makes it so much more digestible, doesn't it?
Okay, let's dive straight into this no-fluff plan. First, the 1 lakh goal. Second, master your budget. Third, optimize your cash flow. Fourth, tackle high-interest debt. And finally, smart short-term investments.
Starting off with Section 1, the 1 lakh goal, and how to automate your savings.
This absolute foundational step relies on a really effective psychological trick. It's all about taking the money out of sight before you can even spend it. The moment step 1 happens, boom, your salary is credited. You shouldn't be the one manually logging in and moving money around. No way. Step 2 must be an automated transfer. Your bank systems should just instantly sweep that 16,500 into Step 3, which is a completely separate, dedicated savings account. By automating this specific flow, saving just becomes effortless. You don't even have to think about it. You just treat this transfer as a fixed, non-negotiable expense, exactly the same way you treat paying your rent.
Moving on to Section 2, master your budget. This is where we actually find that 16,500 rupees.
Now, setting up an automated transfer is, great in theory, but we actually need to make sure you have that cash available to transfer in the first place. That requires some serious mechanical and psychological preparation. To genuinely find that money, you need a detailed budget. You've got to brutally categorize your expenses. On one side, we've got the essentials: rent, bills, groceries, and transportation. These are completely non-negotiable for survival. But on the other side, the non-essentials: dining out, entertainment, shopping. Identifying and ruthlessly tracking these categories is exactly how you figure out where your money is currently leaking, because let's be honest, most of us bleed a little cash every single day without even realizing it.
Which brings us to Section 3, optimize your cash flow, or as I like to call it, the squeeze.
So once you know exactly where those financial leaks are, it's time for the squeeze. This is where we look at both sides of your ledger to free up the absolute maximum amount of cash for that monthly target. And the secret here, it isn't about making massive, painful, life-altering sacrifices. It's entirely about optimizing the little things. Cutting expenses just means consciously reducing how often you eat out, maybe finally canceling those streaming subscriptions you barely touch, putting a hard limit on impulse shopping, and swapping out paid weekend entertainment for free online content or just getting outdoors. The magic here is that cutting back on these small, discretionary expenses makes a massive difference when you compound it over 6 months.
But we can only cut back so much, right? So let's pivot to the other side of the equation. To really accelerate your goal and take some of the pressure off your budget, you should look into increasing your income. This could literally be taking on a weekend part-time job, diving into some freelance work, offering tutoring services, or honestly, even just doing a deep clean of your house and selling stuff you don't use anymore. If you have a specific skill, monetizing your expertise online can quickly bring in that extra cash and make hitting that 16,500 target an absolute breeze.
Next up is Section 4, tackle high-interest debt, because we have to stop the financial bleed. All right, we need to pause for a second and address the giant elephant in the room that can utterly destroy this entire plan. You can do everything right up to this point: budget perfectly, automate your savings, crush a side hustle. But there is one toxic element that will tear this whole savings plan apart. High-interest credit card debt will eat your savings alive. If you have existing loans, especially credit cards charging those massive annual rates, you absolutely must prioritize paying those off immediately. The math here is simple and brutal. The interest you get charged on that debt will completely wipe out any interest you might earn on your savings. You just have to stop that financial bleed first. And please, do not accumulate any new debt during this 6-month sprint.
Okay, let's move to Section 5, smart short-term investments, and see how we actually make your money work for you.
Assuming your high-interest debt is totally cleared, let's anchor this final strategy in some hard data.
Because this is the really fun part, where your money actually starts doing the heavy lifting. Walk through this math with me for a second. If you diligently invest that $16,500 every single month, your total out-of-pocket investment over 6 months is actually only 99,000 rupees. But because you're putting this money into a vehicle yielding a 10% annual return, you generate an overall return of 2,800 rupees. So your final maturity amount pushes right past your goal, landing at 1 lakh 1,800 rupees. You hit the milestone, but you actually only had to scrape together 99 grand of your own cash. How cool is that?
So where exactly do you stash this money to get those returns safely? Because this is a very short-term, 6-month timeline, you really cannot afford to expose this cash to the crazy volatility of the equity markets. You need low-risk vehicles. Debt mutual funds and fixed deposits, FDs, are the absolute perfect tools for this. They offer a stable, reliable way to build short-term wealth, giving you that 6 to 10% average annual return without the terrifying risk of a sudden market dip wiping out all your hard work right before you actually need the cash.
Now, the absolute most crucial point to take away from our explainer today isn't just about spreadsheets and investment types. It's really about a fundamental mindset shift. Let's look at this quote. By treating this transfer as a fixed expense, you reduce the temptation to dip into your savings. That right there is the golden rule of this entire roadmap. You have got to stop viewing savings as, whatever happens to be left over at the end of the month, and start treating it as your single most important, completely non-negotiable monthly bill.
So we've covered the automation, the budgeting, boosting your income, clearing out that nasty debt, and investing smartly. You now have the complete mathematical and behavioral roadmap to hitting 6 figures in 6 months. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. What will your 1 lakh actually be used for? Is it going to be a rock-solid emergency fund? Maybe a down payment? Or what about that dream vacation you've been putting off forever? Whatever your why is, you now know exactly how to make it happen. The clock starts today.